because even as a toddler, when I was teething, they put whiskey on your gums. So I was already doing shots of whiskey. I said, I'm not happy. He goes, really? I said, I'm grateful. I said, if I had depended on happiness, I'd have drank and used a long time ago. 13. I had my first beer at 13. I was in the bathroom once again. From the life of the party to a bathroom. Up for probably 4 days again. And at that moment of surrender, taking a drink or a drug was no longer going to be an option ever. And April 13th, 2006 was my first day sober. And next Monday will be 20 years. I hung in and I hung in and I just couldn't get anything to work and I lost it all. In sobriety. 2 houses, cars. I had a Tahoe. I drove it back to the dealership. It was a voluntary repossession. And the guy said, hey, you're the 6th one today, bud. And all I remember was I had my hand on him and I was praying, and he turned around and looked at me and his eyes were black. And he said, leave. Guys, the fire department came and they're like, what's going on? And here's addiction. I got bit by a scorpion, I said.
Today on episode 9, thanks for being on. We're excited to have you.
Taylor, I am so grateful to be here with you both. Thank you for having me on. It's really an honor and a privilege,
Absolutely.
To spend some time with you all.
I know this is going to be a fun one. We're going to have a lot of jokes. We're going to have a lot of laughs,
Yes.
But I'm really excited to kind of get your story out there, not just only your personal redemption story of what you've been through and experienced, not with just only business,
Yes.
right? I'm losing it all, but family, a lot of other things.
Yes.
And then your decision to give back to the community, really a selfless act of just your life mission.
Yes.
And it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Awesome to hear all
I
this.
can't wait to share it all with you both.
Awesome. So, as always, we like to do the origin story. So, tell us a little bit about you, where you grew up, where you come from, and we'll start at the beginning.
Well, I'm a Jersey boy through and through.
Okay.
Grew up in Sayreville, New Jersey. Polish-Irish blue-collar town.
Really cool.
Yes.
So grew up in Jersey.
Grew up in Jersey. It's really a kind of a storybook place to grow up, right? I mean, my mom and dad grew up there. They were high school sweethearts. My grandparents, lived there. And I was an only child for 7 years. And my mom is the Polish and Italian side. My dad's the Polish and Hungarian side. And we spent a lot of time with family.
That's cool.
A lot of time with food. Food was always a thread in my life. Always a thread.
Brought people together, though.
It always did. It's always been an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been an icebreaker. It's always been that time where everybody got along, and was really happy around the table. And there's still things to this day. I hold on to a lot of those traditions. They mean so much to me. Like for Easter, my grandmother used to make this lamb cake in Poland. It's called baranek. And my wife and I, we still make it.
That's awesome.
For Easter. I have my grandmother's original mold for it and her recipe in her writing.
That's super cool.
So,
That's
and
cool.
we shared the same birthday. So Stella, my father's mother, she was just a very special woman in my life. And her husband, my grandfather, Geza, was the nicest man I ever met. He never got angry. He was kind of a ho-hum guy. Come to find out, he was a boxer, and he was built like his shoulders, he could run through a brick wall. And incredible guy, incredible story, but very responsible, just a wonderful salt of the earth guy.
Yeah.
I still have his hat.
Oh, cool.
And I wear it every once in a while in the winter. And as a matter of fact, we'll get into some of the crisis work that I've done. Because of his demeanor, I always prayed and still pray for his demeanor. I fall short of that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But when I would go into the battle, I put that hat on because it was a calming
awesome.
effect with prayer and with that. And yeah, I was an altar boy, right? And they had that one real early mass we had to serve like 6:45. And, you know, my dad would drop me off because he worked early in the morning. He worked shift work. My dad worked 41 years. That's the other thing. He came home. He was already working for Squibb, a pharmaceutical company, which became Bristol Myers Squibb.
Okay.
But he was already working, and then he got drafted. And then when he got back, they bridged his time, and he worked 41 years, one spot.
Wow. That's unheard of.
What did he do there?
He was a packaging mechanic.
Okay.
So
I'm sure that changed over time.
It did towards the end. I mean, we could go down to rabbit holes, but watching the American worker, even, everybody had a job. Everybody, no matter, you could get a job in a company like that. And back then, and even for me, in graduating in 87, you either went, like, you had three options. You went to college, you went to work in the plant, or maybe you went to the military. It wasn't like it is today where you got all these options.
Yeah. For sure.
So, yeah.
So you breached a little bit about it. There's a kind of a conflict as you get to the teen years with you and your dad. What kind of caused that? We can get it. How were you? Were you a good student?
No.
Okay.
No, all I wanted to do was play baseball.
Okay.
That's it. I just wanted to be shortstop for the New York Yankees. That's it. I wanted to play shortstop for the Yankees, collect baseball cards, talk about baseball,
Gotcha.
Play baseball, wiffle ball. I loved it. I was, I was a really good pitcher younger, and then I wanted to play every day.
Well, you were watching the greats, though. You were watching Babe. You were watching Mickey.
Well, I'm not that old.
Well,
Mickey and the Babe. I mean, come on.
You're what?
Well,
I
actually, sports.
They were playing in the 60s.
No, Babe Ruth.
Well, I'm thinking about when their cards came out.
Yeah. Mickey,
right.
how that all started. Right. Yeah. And they would come out monthly.
Yeah.
And you'd kind of save them and see the fluctuation. They'd have pluses or minuses next to the number, like if it was a hot card or maybe, going down. So I had 2 paper routes. I was a paper boy. Cool. And all my tip money went all to baseball cards.
That's awesome.
Do you still have them?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, really? From back then? That's cool.
I could never. It's just an interesting thing. So I'd look at the pricing guide. I'd get a card that I was hot for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd look at the price, and then I would say, well, I'm going to pay this. I would have in my mind what I wanted to pay below that market value. So I learned that on Sundays were the best days for the card shows, because guys wanted to, like, if they, wasn't a great show, they'd be more willing to, and I would just wear these guys out. Like, I want $15 for this. It's 20, 15, 20, oh, kid, take it. And that was a 1960 Mickey Mantle was my first negotiation.
That's awesome.
And it was
so
awesome.
Cool.
So Mickey Mantle, never saw him play. I watched a lot of him.
Right.
Well, Mickey obviously, is documented and he is shared, he was an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 21 years ago, I end up at the Betty Ford Center in treatment for drugs and alcohol. And that's where Mickey went.
Oh, okay.
And I'm looking along the pathways. You could get bricks, donate, right? And there's Mickey Mantle's brick with his sobriety date. And then I'm in my dorm. It was the same dorm that Mickey was in. And I see this VHS. It was still VHS, right?
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle at the Betty Ford Center. And I put it in, and it was his interview with Bob Costas. And it was like this moment of like, wow. Well, first of all, it's like, I can't believe I'm at the Betty Ford Center. I can't believe that this is where my life has come to. But all these things, your life starts like, wow, all these pieces, that I had to put together again, all these things happen, and you have these like beautiful moments that warm your heart and really help you through the day.
That's cool.
Like it was just like, it brought me back to that negotiation when life was simple and life was good. And, I made it difficult and confusing.
So when did so not a great student, love the cart. So
yes,
I mean, normal teenager. When did the problems start between you and your dad, and when did they become more serious?
Well, being the only child for the first 7 years, I grew up with my parents. They were young.
Yeah.
And,
and you don't realize it. We've talked about before. We don't realize it until you become a parent and you're raising your own kids. You're like, oh man, like my parents didn't know what they were doing.
No, I mean, there's no handbook, right? And you think about, back then too, my of being a veteran and, there was a lot of alcohol in my family, and, there would, a lot of stuff went down. And there's things that I saw that, and experience that, you really wish that you didn't. And I was always the type of kid that took everything in, took everything to heart, felt everything very deeply, and remembered everything. Like the imprints of seeing certain things just have lasted. It's a double-edged sword, some people black out. Some people forget it. Some people suppress. I don't know. Maybe it was better in the long run because I knew what I had to deal with and how I had to deal with it and get the help that I needed for the ultimate freedom.
Yeah.
Right. So, there was a lot of things, alcohol was always a thread. Every party, every birthday party, every holiday.
When did you start to drink?
13. I had my first beer at 13. But it's kind of funny. I'll be 20 years sober next Monday on
That's
April
awesome.
13th. I'll be 57 in May, but in my 40s, it was the first decade of my life where alcohol didn't touch my lips, because even as a toddler, when I was teething, they put whiskey on your gums. So I was already doing shots of whiskey.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was my.
It was just how that was the deal.
I don't know that for sure. I know my mom shared a little bit, but I'm pretty sure my grandmother. That was what.
Yeah.
That occurred.
Yeah.
So.
I never liked what alcohol did to the people in my life that I loved so much. Right. But then I became what I hated the most. And that has always been the biggest irony, of it all.
When did the drinking start to become more like, so I'd imagine you partying with your friends and having a good time.
Yeah.
Like that. Was it when you started to drink, was it, you found yourself drawn to the over drinking of it? Like you just keep going until you don't remember, or?
No, I always remembered, but, I never had one of anything.
Gotcha.
It was always the journey to get loaded. Like I didn't drink for the taste.
Yeah, you wanted to get.
No, it was about getting loaded. It was about the buzz. There is a saying, one is too many and 1,000's never enough. And when it hits my lips, I'm off to the races. So it's an interesting thing. Like I was more of like a mama's boy, growing up, very close to my mother and my grandparents.
You had Italian mother.
Yes.
Yeah, like that.
Yes.
That hard not to be.
And
right?
being the first born boy, and and my dad worked shift work right in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time with my mom.
12-hour shifts or 10 hours, or
well, you know what? My dad, man, he worked a lot of overtime.
Yeah,
because that's where the union, right? I mean, he worked doubles, he worked triples, and he gave us so much. He still does.
It's the hard part about like nurses, first line responders. It's all shift work, and really the only way you make more money is to work more, and your hours are already terrible anyway, and they're anywhere from 10 to 12-hour shifts, and you just go work more and more, and you just find that you're never at home, and so it becomes
the delta of how much more you get paid for doing that extra shift work is like
overtime is where you could go on that vacation, that summer vacation when we all got in the car. My parents used to rent a house down the Jersey Shore.
Oh, cool.
And that's kind of like
before the Jersey Shore.
Oh.
It was the Jersey Shore.
You know what? I'll say it. I was the Jersey Shore before the Jersey Shore.
Oh, okay. Gym tanning laundry. You were doing that already.
You know, the gel in the hair, the puka beads.
I'd like to see some photos of this.
Yeah,
I'm sure you have.
Oh, I do. I do. Yeah, the Jersey Shore is still one of my favorite places. It's
awesome.
become a sanctuary now when I go back and visit in the summer. I have a little beach spot that I cherish.
That's awesome.
And you know, the pizza, that's really, you know, we'll talk about pizza, why, you know, but
the picture in my wallet is you holding a pizza.
it is.
So.
It's been, so I'll give you a quick, right? My Uncle Rocky. Yes, I had an Uncle Rocky, right? My grandmother's brother. Now, my grandmother.
Was it on your mom's side?
Yes.
Okay,
Italian side, yes.
I could have guessed that.
Right? And my grandmother, you know, she just passed away in November. She was 100. She made it to 100. It was awesome. And so her brother Rocky had a pizza place in Perth Amboy, New Jersey.
That's awesome.
And so going there, you know, my mom would have a birthday party for me there.
Yeah.
But going there was like, you know, it was the cast of characters. It was like an adventure, and you park in the back, you go through that screen door, that old screen door, and you're back in the kitchen, and you do a deep dive into the fresh mozzarella, you know, and my Uncle Rocky's there. Oh, would, you know, make pizza boxes. I'll give you a nickel a box, you know, and, you know, it was wild. But the smell, you know, was just, so good. So, you know, pizza it was a storyline, it was characters, but then it was like this thread with my dad and my mom and family. And the Jersey Shore piece is when my parents rented the house. We had this, you know, great day on the beach. You go back, you're suntan, take a shower, you're a kid. And, you know, I'm walking up to the boardwalk with my mom and dad. And there was this legendary place. It's still there 72 years later. It's been in business, Maruca's. And to walk in and get the pizza is like as big as this table.
That's awesome. You
know, that's how the Shore slices were. The slice was as big as my head. And sitting there with my mom and dad and having a root beer with crushed ice and a pizza, like I could still put myself in it.
Dude, that's what we need to do this summer with our families. Dude. We have a personal tour guide
Oh.
right here. Our kids would love that.
There
You
would
stay
be
on the beach.
nothing more than
Our
I would
wives
love
would
than to
love
take
that.
you guys to Jersey.
Oh, I might take you up on that this summer.
We'll do
That
it.
would be a really
I'll
cool.
even include the pinky rings.
Yes.
We'll all get personal pinky rings. Everything. You know.
That's beautiful.
I mean, so it just kind of stemmed, right? And
So
then
I was going to ask you what your favorite pizza place was, but it sounds like Maruca's is the
Well-
place to go for you, or at least the most nostalgic.
that's a great question, because there are 4 pizza places that have shaped kind of somewhere of my love of pizza, but this deep rooted connection with family and pizza pals, because I have so many great pizza pals. Pizza guys are like the salt of the earth to me. I mean, and so
Have you met Dave Portnoy?
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I thought I've
yes,
seen that.
yeah,
So
you
you
saw
have.
that. Yeah, I
okay.
worked at One Bite
Yeah.
with my dear buddy Al Santillo, and big shout out to Al. He's invited me the last 3 years to help him do that, and you know, I take a picture with Dave every year, and it's funny because, you know, I'll go up and I make that face all the time, you know, with the picture,
Yeah.
you know, so I'll always say to Dave, I know this is you look forward, this is what you look forward to the most each year, your picture with Uncle Eddie, you know, and you know, whatever. He's
a cool guy.
You know what? He gives everybody time, and he has helped so many small businesses.
Oh,
especially during COVID.
He's got a
Yeah.
great heart.
Yeah.
You know, he really does.
Seen a couple of those videos where he went and visited, and they needed like 60,000 to stay
Yes.
open. They were in a closed door, and he's like, "Well, how much
Yes.
do you need?" And the guy was kind of like, "Well, no." He's like, "Well, you're standing with someone that can
Yes.
fulfill this, so you might want to come up with a number." And the guy's like, 60,000. It's like done.
It's incredible.
Unbelievable.
Those reviews, and that's how I kind of met Al.
Okay.
Was watching his review, which to me is one of the most all-time funniest viral reviews ever. And that's how this kind of stemmed to getting to meet Al. And you know, it's interesting, right? You say yes, you put yourself out there, and you just don't know what could happen. Right? And that's the wonderment of life.
Mhm.
And it's such a beautiful thing, right? And being sober, you're really being present now
Yeah.
in these moments. it's beautiful. But to get back to the
So
pizza, my favorite, right?
yeah,
There are 4. So Pizzarama in Perth Amboy, my Uncle Rocky's place. Maruka's at the Jersey Shore. And then my dad had a 68 convertible Stingray.
Oh, cool.
that's awesome.
Gosh, I wish, he sold it when my sister was born when I was 7. So I kind of still tease my sister. I still have a resentment. I lost my vet. My mother's like, you can't, with 2 kids, you can't have a vet. No. I'm like, oh. So we'd get in that, and the town next to Sayreville is South River, all right? The home of Joe Theismann and Drew Pearson, or you Texas guys. Drew Pearson and Joe Theismann were actually on the same high school football team.
Okay.
And they won the state championship. And so there was a pizza place in South River called Cafaro's. And there'd be nothing like going over the South River Bridge in that convertible Corvette with my dad to go pick up a pie. Oh, the 8-track player in there. He'd have either the Beach Boys or Led Zeppelin. That's where I got my love of music, was from my dad, his album collection. Or he'd pop in like something, kind of funky, Ohio Players, fire, and just, you're 6, 7 years old like that, and you're on top of the world,
So what, not a great student kind of, but you're figuring out trading cards, going through life.
Yeah.
You get out, did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school, yeah.
So get out of high school, what do you do next?
That was so high school was an interesting thing, right? In today's world, if you learn different, there are different things that they have for students today. Back then, it was, if the circle didn't fit, the circle and the square thing, like if you didn't, and I probably had,
even my generation, I don't know that I'm not much older than Taylor, but my generation was still kind of the same thing. You kind of had this cookie cutter.
Yes.
It started to shift when I got into high school. You started getting offered more electives, right?
Yes.
Like there was different things like I'm sure you had shop and you had
we did.
And that was the foundation of kind of electives.
Yes.
Right. Well, when I got in, we had like marketing, sports marketing, which I excelled in that class. And then we had like a graphics design class, and there was but I think the computers really changed that. Right. So you had these more electives that fit into that, where now you have computer labs at school.
Yes.
So I was learning all kinds of different things, and that really just started to change with when I got in, but y'all didn't have any of that.
I'm laughing just hear you talk about it. I had a half year of typing. We still had the typewriters in it. I mean, but you know what? I could still, I mean, it was some of this stuff we need to bring back, actually. Home ec and,
for sure.
We didn't have the typewriters, but we definitely had typing and computers. And it was the class.
Well, now they took home ec and they have culinary kitchens and stuff. So
it's incredible now. I mean, such a change. I grew up very simple. It was a very simple life.
So was a transition from adolescence to adulthood hard for you then? You're not knowing where you wanted to be?
It's kind of interesting, right? I knew what I wanted to be. I loved certain subjects in school, like history. But if I wasn't interested in something, I turned off. It's just
I'm the same way.
And I just couldn't absorb or comprehend stuff. I had trouble reading, and remembering what I read. I still Audible's the greatest gift. I mean, if Audible was around in high school, it could have changed. I mean, that's been a blessing.
I'd imagine all three of us are very similar in that way. I'm the same. I was a horrible student, and that was exactly it, because they didn't teach anything I was interested in. And I was like, I don't want to learn about this. I want to go home and go in the woods and go play or go shoot my BB guns.
Yes.
I did something that was of interest that I had nothing to do with school. And because of that, it was your response from your teachers. I had, I have no teacher of merit that I really remember that did any sort of encouragement. It was always like, you're gonna grow up and be a failure. I mean, that was literally what I was told my entire school career. And so I just laugh when I look back at it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
There was an article about Bon Jovi too, that his teacher told him he'd amount to nothing because he was doing studio work late at night and fall asleep in class, but he knew where he wanted to go.
And that's crazy to be able
right. And so it does, everything matters.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's what we're doing for teenagers in the clubhouse is that's part of that drive that everything matters. and not everybody learns the same, and you know, everybody's got a different kind of, you know, pathway, you know, and how do you incubate and let somebody flourish in what they're doing, or how they learn, or what they want to do? Because I knew what I wanted to do. Now, the thing with school and athletics then too, like if you didn't get a certain SAT score, you couldn't go to Division I, or you couldn't go,
Right.
like, so I went to junior college to play baseball, and I had to drive to the campus, right? I was having trouble getting up early. I don't know, like, I just didn't want to go to school, but I just wanted to play baseball. I'm jealous of the kids today. No SAT scores, the thing that you can sign up and make money now. And, you know, it's kind of like, I would have loved it. I have no problem with those kids doing that today, you know, because, you know, go for it. Like, that's your profession, or you want to let that lead to your profession, even if you don't make
so
it.
much money off of these athletes. Like, they should have that. So,
but back then, right, it was more like, if you didn't fit in that, you couldn't go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, you kind of get labeled as, you know, you don't have the grades. He doesn't have the grades. You could do that. And so I get into junior college, and, you know, it was really baseball. I maybe went to 6 classes. I don't know. And
as little as possible, just so you could play.
Yeah. And then that ran out because you had to have a certain amount of credits to play. So I left school, and, you know, it kind of started like this kind of wandering. Where do I go? What do I do? I went to work, did some, you know, jobs, like, you know, whatever. And then I went back to school, but I planned it where I could go in to where the season was going to start, and was doing really well. Was to some tryouts, got scouted, and then I was driving to a game, and I got smacked by a cement truck in the back, and it whiplashed me. And ever since then, my arm was kind of like, and I drove, like, I pulled over. I was like, I got a game. And I was like, all right, I'll figure it out. Like, got the guy's information, right? And left. Drove, played a game, and my arm was like dead. Like, I don't know what nerve or whatever I hit. Like, I had like this dead arm. And that was really, for a shortstop, you know, I started throwing the ball, and the pins and needles would start shooting out, you know, the pinky and everything. And I was like, oh man, like, I'm in trouble, you know. And then I would go to tryouts and play. I played summer league. I was playing all these games, and my arm would start spasming, like, because I was throwing so much and so hard and doing whatever it took to get drafted. That's all I wanted to do, was get drafted, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to go back to school to earn that through school play, because I wasn't a student.
You know, that clock was kind of running out.
It was.
You had that timeline of your opportunity to capitalize.
But then, you know, when the arm, you know, you lose that pop.
How old were you at this time?
20, 21, you know, like in that, you know. And, and it just didn't work out. And I was so devastated with myself, disappointed, because I felt like, you know, if I would have made a decision to study more, I could have went to a university out, and I wouldn't have had to drive to the games, and that wouldn't have happened. And I would go down those rabbit holes.
It starts a dark cycle.
It does. And then, you know, it was something that I drank over. And, you know.
And also, it's hard to, as I've gotten older, I realize you create habits for yourself.
Yes.
Like that's how you coped with it, right? And then something else happens, and you cope with it the same way, right? And you create these patterns, and then it can become a problem if you don't cope with it correctly.
I just felt like, you know, lost, like this little fish in just such a big pond, right? Where do I go? What do I do? You know, I really wasn't a trade kid either. You know, I had this kind of rebellion to, like, go work in the plant. I don't want to work in the plant.
Were trades, when you're growing up, were trades kind of frowned upon as, like, I don't know, lower class work, or like how was it, like
Not
electrician, plumber, stuff like that? Okay.
No, not yet, and not where I grew up.
Yeah.
It was honorable. It was good business. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of guys, builders, construction, plumbing, HVAC.
Yeah, I remember growing up. That was kind of it was kind of frowned upon as like lower level, but I think that was the change of like university, college. Everybody was being programmed to go to college, get your degree, possibly master's, and you'll be set for life.
Well, I even think like our parents always want their kids, right, to do better than them.
Right.
Yeah. What that means today is a whole bunch of different, when you talk about legacy and who the person you are, right? But, even then, like the town I grew up with, right, supplied, like, so we had, my dad did go work, like, so pharmaceutical jobs, Johnson & Johnson was close by, Merck,
Gotcha.
Bristol Myers, in my town, Sunshine Biscuits, remember Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
That's where the factory was. I mean, driving in my hometown, I mean, when and I worked there for a while. My aunt worked there for 30 years. That supplied a lot of great jobs, a lot of different types of jobs. DuPont was there, big, and Hercules was a chemical company too that used to blow up every once in a while. And I mean, but there was a lot of jobs where we were, and in that central Jersey, kind of corridor too. There was a lot of opportunity.
But you were just like, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that, And when I did get a chance to do some of that, I was just like, it had nothing to do with anything else but myself, right? I was just disgusted with myself because I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do. And I was being involved with baseball. I think my drive for the third core element of the foundation is discovery. And I think that it's in these moments where you have a failure, you have a disappointment in life. Is there somebody in your life that could realize that and say, hey, baseball didn't work out, but you love to talk about the game. You love the game.
Yeah. How can you capitalize off of your passion?
What about broadcasting? What about journalism, right? And I've got an avenue for you, right, to walk you through that. That would have been pretty neat.
I can relate to that a ton. It was the same thing. Like I had I just didn't know where to put my passion, right? Like it's like, what do I do? And so I spent, and I listened to a lot of people, friends, family, like I wanted to be in law enforcement from an early age, but it was always like, oh, it doesn't pay good, it doesn't do that, don't do that. And I just listened to that for a long time, and I finally got into it later in life and realized, like, man, absolutely loved it, and never saw where I'm at right now out of a turn of events. But it's hard when you don't have, someone in your life that has maybe not. I'm not saying that your dad couldn't have had this discussion, but maybe you're not willing to listen to him, right? Having the right mentor in your life that will get through to you and be like, hey, you're not very good at this, but man, like, check out this over here. I think you could really do well at that because you love baseball. You should go to a broadcast school and just check it out.
Yes. No, it's interesting, fathers and sons, right? Everybody needs a good uncle or aunt in their life. And I feel like one of my most favorite and cherished things in my life is being Uncle Eddie. Mm-hmm. My sister who lives close to me here in Texas, she has 5. And my sister in Arizona has 1.
Gotcha.
And I love being Uncle Eddie. Being in the spot I am in my life today too, there's nothing greater than when the kids come over for a pizza party. And kids know when they're safe.
Yeah.
They do. Sure. And they flourish. Mm-hmm. And it's just something for them to come over and we just have a blast. There's no alcohol. No one's drinking. There's nothing like, there was always like growing up, there would be like that one spot in the night that
you're wondering what's going to happen.
And a lot of,
everybody's loaded and nobody's
all hell would break loose, or there would be some incident. Right. And, I the one thing too, then what you go through in life and what I, the avenue that I decided.
Mm.
I've been given a lot of grace, and I have to give that grace back, right?
Yeah.
And so, because I became part of the nightmare at the night,
Yeah.
I did.
Am I? Sorry.
Good. So where did that turn? So you baseball, that dream has kind of settled. You're now bouncing in between different jobs.
Yeah, I kind of like, I worked for a sneaker store. I was managing a sneaker store. Gosh, I think that's when the Jordans came out. If I would have known what I know today, I would have bought the whole thing. The first $100 sneaker. And, like my father, I don't know, like people are like $100. You see the digits on the box and you're like, wow.
That's great. That's
because, wow, it was just crazy, and I worked, even as a teenager, I worked in the mall because, we grew up in the mall generation.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fantastic. Worked in a men's clothing store. I loved that. I was salesman of the month. I'm 15 years old. It's a great story. I still keep in touch with my first manager and assistant manager. It was Chess King in the East Brunswick Square Mall.
That's cool.
Parachute pants, all that fun stuff. And when I was 14, I'd go into the store and my mom, I'd buy a shirt, and I'd tell the lady, I want to work here. She goes, you got to be 15. And I'm like, oh, okay. On my 15th birthday, I went to the school office and got my working papers. And my mom drove me to the mall. And I said, hi, I'm here. I didn't say how you. I probably said how you doing. I have been saying that my whole life too. That's been a whole thread. How you doing, right? Because it does matter, like to me. So she goes, "What are you doing here?" I go, "I'm 15 here." She goes, "What? You're hired?" Like I got hired on the spot, right? Because she's like, "I can't believe you did that." I'm like, "I want to work here," and you told me I got to be 15, and so I got a chance. That's the other thing too. I love reconnecting with both of them and telling them like this what they meant to me.
That's cool.
Because they believed in me and they gave me a shot.
Cool.
And, I was 15 years old and I still remember those moments,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, worked in sneakers, travel, had a blast with that, corporate travel, worked for a hotel. And then through my travels, we used to go on these trips. We'd get discounted tickets. I'm in Hawaii. I play golf. Met a guy from Jersey, introduces me to a friend. Before you know it, I'm in the mortgage business. The man who couldn't pass a math class, I'm dealing with numbers. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I always, it's kind of funny. Like you fall into these things and you're like, I don't want to do this, but I found a different way because I actually liked putting puzzle pieces together.
Yeah.
And structuring things and giving actually really good, solid advice to people, right?
Yeah.
And so
I always find it's easier if you have a practical use for what you're doing,
yes.
regardless of the subject, science, math, English, whatever.
Yes.
You may struggle with it in a studious way, like sitting in front of a teacher and trying to regurgitate and take a test. Horrible. But when you can put it into a practical solution, sometimes it's much easier to be good at it and understand it.
And I end up, they just throw you out on the road and you learn. And I learned a lot and I learned how to put things together. I had a good mentor that taught me how to put a good file together.
What age were you at this time?
That was like 26, 27.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I flourished in that. I got over a couple of humps and, I was doing really well. Started doing a little bit better, making some money. And I just felt though this tug, like I was still struggling though with alcohol, and then the drugs started really a little bit more because you start making money.
Were you still dealing with? Was there any sort of? You're still dealing with the fact that you didn't make it in baseball and like you wanted to do. Was that still in your mind, or were you? Hey, can you move past that in your life? And you're like, I'm good. Or was that still kind of there tugging at you?
Yeah, I played until I was 27 in a men's league, right? And then I just couldn't, like my ham, like, you're going to work, you got a pulled hamstring, you start pulling muscles, and it's like eating aspirin just to play. It's like, it's time. It's time. I loved it. Yeah, I struggled a lot with that still. And deep-seated, resentment to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I kind of found a way in the mortgage business, and it was kind of interesting, and as much as I really never thought that's really what this beautiful God journey, like he's already got it planned out. And, my self-will was trying to figure this thing out. But man, you reflect on the decisions and the things that you could do. And I always wanted to move out of Jersey. So I caught a break. I was working for Norwest Bank, which was a really good mortgage company, really good. They were like technology savvy and everything, right? I mean, I would still, when I started handwriting 1003s, which is the application for mortgage, and that they had it on a laptop. They had it on a computer. And well,
this was in the 90s.
This was in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And Norwest bought Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And they kept the Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was not.
Did they turn into Bank of the West?
No.
Okay.
But they kept the Wells Fargo name because
Gotcha.
they wanted the stagecoach and the branding. But Wells
Yeah.
Fargo really wasn't a juggernaut anymore.
Right.
So I had gone out to Scottsdale, Arizona in 1994 to play golf. And when I went out there, like you could eat off the streets. It was all this space. Everything was brand new. It was a golf course, a hotel in Tumbleweed. I was like, where am I? Like, it was wild. I was like, man, if, no one would know if you disappeared out here, right? But I fell in love with the desert. I fell in love with that whole atmosphere. And interesting enough, when Wells Fargo, was now, because they were all over the country, the whole country kind of opened up. I was in Jersey in March and it started snowing. And I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I pulled into a place that my buddies, they owned a cruise thing, and I booked a cruise to out of Puerto Rico, and we met a bunch of people on the cruise, and they were all moving to Arizona. And I'm like, I'm going. I'm setting a date and I'm going. I set a date in September of, I'm leaving September 9th, 2000. And yeah.
Off to Arizona.
Threw myself a big party. And there I went. My dad and I drove across the country. And I got to tell you, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Because I had to fly the coop.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with your dad at that time?
It was good.
Good.
Yeah, it was good.
We're starting to realize the wisdom of your dad.
Yeah, he was, and I'll tell him to this day, he was right.
Yeah.
I have to he was right. Once again, it's an interesting thing. I'll kind of come back to one of the epic conversations we had, like my first day sober. But we drive across country. I get out to Arizona, and it was just like, wow, this is great. Like the apartments out there were like resorts, right? And just had a blast, and was working in the bank doing mortgages, and met a bunch of new people. And I went from Tempe up to Scottsdale. I got an apartment up there. And of course, I found a bar. But before that, I was out making chicken at the grill. The apartment complexes had these great grills, and I'm out there making chicken. And this guy
next to the pool, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's just all like.
Yeah.
And this guy goes, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? Where you from?" He goes, "Oh, I'm from New York," and and we're still buddies today. I love their family, became dear friends, and so we found the bar, and it was a great sports bar. Everybody was working hard and playing hard. It was very comfortable. Yeah. Like it was, a little bit of a different level of success. And, I started finding my groove out there. And that's where I met my wife.
Awesome.
That's where I met Michelle, AKA Parmigiana. my Parmigiana. She was working. She was my bartender.
Awesome.
And it's one of these moments. It's funny. I asked her out a few times, striking out, and then I was doing a drunk Mick Jagger one night in the bar, and she took a handful of ice and chucked it at me and told me to shut up, and I was like, I got her. I knew I got enough under her skin to get the date. Relentless. So, but
awesome.
It's an interesting, she was working a second job. She was a single mom. That's where I was blessed to get a bonus son. Yeah. Trey was in the kindergarten when we started dating. He's 30 now. But we, started this, journey, and had a really good time. Everybody was having a good time. I just took it to another level. And that's unfortunately where I did. So, I did my first line of cocaine at the age of 30, right before I left New Jersey.
Okay.
And it was like the gates of heaven opened up.
At your own party that you threw yourself?
No, this was, and it was like, wow, this is fun. That's like the devil's just giving you everything you want. It was great because I could drink more and I could drink all night, and the sun come up, we go to the beach. It was like the first night, it was like going to a casino for the first time and winning.
Gotcha.
And had a great night. And so when I went out to Arizona, met the guy, and for the first time I had access to the drugs. And then I started making more money, and then I would start partying more. And then it just led me down to a road 5 years later where I was completely broken and on my knees.
I've never tried anything hard. I have no idea what it would be like. Is it luckily? So I grew up. My mom grew up her parents were both alcoholics, and she grew up with a very strong affinity against alcohol because of that, because of the suffering that she went through. Kind of what you described.
Yes.
All the relationships, all the people she had in her life, the pain that alcohol caused. She had such a hatred for it.
Yes.
And I could, even young, I could see that the worst thing I could do would be to come home drunk. My mom it would have broke her. And so I was like, okay, clearly it's gonna affect her more than it would a normal parent that sees their kid come home, be an adolescent. It would have crushed my mom.
Yes.
What's the, you start to do these drugs, and early on, right, you're having a good time, not worried about it. Go out on an all night drinking and do a line of cocaine. What's the recovery like the next day or two from your body to get back to, or were you drinking? Did it start off fast? What was that recovery like in the beginning?
Well, the hangovers were part of the badge of honor, where all the guys, we'd just be laying on the couch watching Sunday sports all day and just kind of rotting on the couch, That continued for a very long time, where Sundays, it was not about going to church. It was about recovery. It was about recovery, to see if you could sweat it out for Monday's work.
Yeah, I was about to say, back then when you were younger, it only took one day to recover. As you get older,
yes. I mean, back in the day, you could go out all night, come home, take a shower, go to work. You could do it. But as it increases, it's interesting you bring up with your mother. So my mom hated drinking too. Alcoholics go get help at Alcoholics Anonymous or 12-step groups, right? Yeah. And the family members have Al-Anon. And they have programs for families. And it's interesting because if the family doesn't get the help that they need, sometimes it's just as bad as the alcoholic, because, it's an interesting dynamic that everybody has to get help because it's a family disease. It really is. And so I came home drunk, and my mother, who went through it with her father and my dad and now me, we would have battles, like that too. And I was more now rebelling against my mother to get on my father's good graces because I wanted to be a part of the boys club, Kyle. Like I wanted to fit in with my dad and my grandparent and my grandfathers, right? I wanted.
And that was part of the culture. So you just fit in. Just
I wanted to be in that boys club, right? Because I love these guys, right? And I wanted to earn their respect.
And I would imagine the dynamic between their loved ones or wives and it was the same, meaning that there's probably some, you know, I don't imagine a whole lot of wives enjoy their husbands coming home drunk all the time.
No.
So that, but when it's a regular occurrence and you're seeing it, to you, it's like, well, I'm part of the boys.
Yeah, and and it's all those like moments, those things that collide. You're in a rebellious stage, and now you introduce alcohol, and it just all, you know, and then you have trauma and grief, and it just all starts building up into this one big powder keg. It really is. You know, it's a disaster. You know,
when during that 5-year time that you kind of talked yourself, you went from kind of starting to like rock bottom.
Yeah.
When did you realize like
this is a problem?
Like, hey, this is a problem. Like I shouldn't be doing this. Was there ever a thought, or does like walk us through kind of that stage, those stages of where you ended up?
So you get to about 32, and it went from a quarterly party to maybe like a Friday night or a Thursday night. Thursday was always the best night to go out for some reason. And, you know, drinking was always a thread, but now you have this other thread, right? And I'm like, I knew I was in trouble because I liked it. Yeah. But I couldn't stop. And I really, I guess, you know, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to go for the ride. I wanted the after hours parties. I'm making money. You know, it's an interesting thing when your affairs are somewhat in order, right? Like you're not under a bridge.
Yeah.
Right.
You're making good money.
Yet, because they call that the yets. And believe me, you know, but for the grace of God go I, right? I mean, the bills are paid. I got a beautiful home. I got a beautiful car, got a beautiful wife, but I'm a disaster inside. And now I'm earning success financially, and I'm a disaster inside. I got an offer to leave Wells Fargo, and I signed an enormous deal because it was like gluttony then. Everybody was making so much money in real estate and banking, everything, right? It was like you wake up and you make 10 grand, right? I mean,
the late 90s, early.
I never got involved in any of the weird stuff that was going on in the banking. I actually only did A+ paper. I did, you know, I never did anything, you know.
You weren't dealing with the subprime stuff.
No,
where they're
never.
handing out money to people that they shouldn't.
Right. Then I got recruited, and I went there and asked for like ridiculous stuff, and they said yes. So once again, it was like, I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to give this to you. And I'm getting worse and worse and worse. I think I showed up to my final negotiation like high, right? I'm like, I can't believe I just did that, right? So there's this false sense of self and this false sense of invincibility. Because now here we go. We're going again. Now, you know, you go to the BMW dealership, you get
that was also very common though in that era. Like what you were doing wasn't, you weren't the only one.
No.
Right.
No,
like that was a,
you know what I'm
industry.
Yeah. You know what I'm grateful for? I really was the only one in my core group really doing drugs. And I really hid it like from a lot of, like people knew, but I don't think people knew the extent of how in trouble I was personally.
Gotcha.
How was was there conflict in the home with your wife? And what was
there started?
Were you hiding it from her as well? I mean, it's hard to hide it from your wife.
It is hard, but you know, everything was in order. You know,
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like you're providing this great life.
Yeah, and my wife is such a incredible, like, My dad will even say this, how did you pull this off? If I have done one thing right in my life, it's my wife.
Yeah,
God
agree with that.
God said, listen, Eddie, you messed this up, you messed this up, you messed this up. I got your back. I am going to put an incredible woman in your life. Hardworking, smart, salt of the earth.
That's awesome.
Been through more than I have, and just incredible. Like, she is just like, so solid. So,
you're succeeding. You're at the top. I mean, it's the highlight of your life. And
now it's going to start falling apart, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually it does.
Yeah.
The Jersey saying is you can only stack shit so high. The biblical saying is if your foundation is built on sand, right? I believe that's in Matthew. I could have that wrong, but probably do. But, when the winds and the torrents and the rains come, your house will blow down. And that's what happened. Myself, it was all built on sand. And so I had an episode. I was up for 4 days.
It was coke. Was it mostly cocaine and alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The coke would keep me up. And
Yeah.
at this point now, I'm waking up and I'm doing cocaine first. Alcohol beer is actually was always my gateway drug.
Yeah.
Couple of beers and I'm off to the races.
But now it's changed.
Now it's changed. And that's a different, the shakes and now I have to drink myself to get even. And that was scary because now I'm guzzling vodka to get even. And then you get drunk again. And then you're like, oh.
Well, now I got to get up again.
Yeah, let's go. It's a horrific cycle that I don't wish on anybody. And when you see the sun come up once, it's funny. It's like, oh, when you see it come up twice, you got a problem.
Yeah.
A third time and then a fourth, the shadow people come out. And you start hearing stuff, sleep deprivation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is torture. And I'm glad I remember all of that. And I still do to this day. Because if that can't keep me sober in itself, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
But I started having an episode where my heart started fluttering. And everybody was asleep. And I'm downstairs. And the rain's coming down. And I was watching something on TV that really affected me, bothered me. It was with the Yankees and 9/11 and a father and a daughter that had tickets and the dad didn't make it to the game. And all my hurts, hang-ups, and traumas and whatever would come out while I'm drinking. And right, it was just, and that one hit me. And my heart started fluttering. It was like, pum, 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 pum. And then it was like, Bugs Bunny, the cartoons when you like, and I'm like, okay, calm down, go outside, smoke a cigarette, And I was like, I had the shakes, right? Now I'm shaking. I swallowed I think I took 7 or 8 Tylenol, PMs. Okay, maybe this will knock me out, Nothing would. And now I'm like, okay, I'll go take a shower. So I take a cold shower and I come out and I'm sweating. It's just coming out. So I'm like, I don't want to call 911. Here's what right? This is the insanity, right? I'm in trouble.
Yeah, could be dying.
Don't call 911 because I don't want the neighbors to see why would Eddie be calling 911? Right. So I wake up Michelle and I say, I'm not doing so good. You got to take me to the Mayo. Because the Mayo Clinic was in Scottsdale. I figured, take me to the Mayo, right? So she gets me in the car, and the pins and needles are starting at my feet. And as she's driving me, it's like now it's at my knees. And I can't, I'm having, I guess, besides what I had was a coronary spasm, but I was having probably a panic attack and everything, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going to make it. I didn't think I was going to make it because it was like I could feel like I was going to shut off. I felt like that was it. I was saying, say goodbye, to my parents, tell my sisters I love them. I'm so sorry. And I said, you got to pull over on the side of the road. I'm not going to make it. Call 911. And she did. And then the fire department, those guys, the fire department came. And they're like, what's going on? And here's addiction. I got bit by a scorpion, I said. Because I was afraid, embarrassed, ashamed to say what was going on.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to get in trouble, but firemen, God bless firemen,
Like,
cops I haven't had a good run with, but firemen, yes. And God, you're laughing, but but you get it. So I said, listen, I know, I'm like, they're going to hit me with something. So I better so I told them what I was doing. And I'll never forget, they got me in the back and they're taking me to the Mayo and they're calling it in. And they're like, Mayo, cocaine, alcohol, and they're like, you're bringing them here? I was like, yeah. Oh, does he have insurance? Like, yes, he has insurance, right? The stigma
yeah, they did not expect someone
to addiction, right? Right away, it's like, oh, this guy's homeless. He lives under a bridge. No, I mean, it was, and I remember getting in and they hit me with something and I woke up and I was so scared. And the cat was out of the bag then with my job. And now it's like, okay, now I went dry for 5 months. I came home, I flushed everything down the toilet. I went on this kind of like sober, dry phase. Big difference between dry and being in recovery.
Yeah.
Poured myself into my work. My boss, who I'm still friends with today, what a great story that is. She said, hey, I think I got something you will help you out. So she nominated me for this leadership training class, 2.5 day intensive. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I went, it lit me up. Because for the first time in my life, no one was preaching at me. No one was telling me what to do. They were asking me, how do I want to show up in this world? And it's like that right moment. I said yes. And I was number one in the company in the first quarter. I made more money than I ever made. It was like this incredible run. 5 months into that, May, I said, I just made all this money. I'm doing really good, right? I thought I had to calm down. Like, this is where addiction is a complete thief. I mean, alcohol and drugs are a thief. And the power of addiction, cunning, baffling, and powerful. I'll have a beer and a cigarette, right? Doing great. I had a beer and a cigarette. Within 2 weeks, I was checking into the Betty Ford Center. I lasted like 2-3 days drinking beers, then having a little of this and that, and then
right back off.
Dial the digits. And here I go. And so I was going to get fired, even though I had done so well. I was going to get fired, and someone's like, you should probably take family leave and go to treatment. So how I got there, whatever, but here I end up at the Betty Ford Center in Rancho Mirage, California. And I got to tell you something. There was a joke when I was back in Jersey, and we go to the Jersey Shore, and we have the whole bar to ourselves. There was a running joke that we had a quad reserved for all of us at the Betty Ford Center. This is before I even, what God does, I mean, ask and you shall receive, right? And to find out there are quads at the Betty Ford Center based off of the First Lady's story of how she found recovery. It's an epic story. And I had quite an experience, a 28-day rehab experience. I got fired from my job while I was in there, and really was very scared and thought, well, if I quit doing cocaine, I could still drink. Like I was still on that, even though all the stuff that's happened, I was still in that moment. And I came home and got fired. Going back to work, it was tough. Some of my anonymity was blown, and I felt very vulnerable. I think I lasted about 30 days and then relapsed. And that put me on an 8.5-month run that nearly killed me. Michelle and I got married. In between that, we went on our honeymoon, and when I got back, it got really, really dark in the first quarter of 2006. So it's Easter. That's why Easter means so much to me. The resurrection changed everything for us believers. And to think about that time and to have a resurrection, redemption moment. My parents flew in for Easter. Michelle at this point had enough of me. And, I was a mess when my parents showed up. And Michelle decided to do a therapeutic separation, and she got an apartment. I was in the bathroom once again, from the life of the party to a bathroom, up for probably 4 days again. This time, my mother was like, everybody knew, because I actually flew back to Jersey. I told my parents I had a drug problem. They're like, oh, we figured the alcohol, but we had no idea about drugs, And I'm in the bathroom. My mother's banging on the bathroom door. I know what you're doing in there. My father was kind of like, I don't know. He probably went and took a nap, distraught of what was going on. And I was in the bathroom looking in the mirror at a shell of a human. It was an out-of-body experience. I mean, it was like looking, and you're like, you just like, and hearing, like, because family has, as much as I love my family so much, right? It's, you can pick your friends, you can't pick your family, right? We hurt the people closest to us a lot of times, and family's been such an odd, thing. And with all that going on, all I heard, and I feel it was God saying to me, this must all end. That was April 12th, 2006. And I slammed my hand down on the toilet seat. I had still a bag on me. And I still remember that top of that toilet seat because it had all scratch marks on it. I'm cutting up stuff, cutting up lines from a credit card, And I flushed it down the toilet. And it was like God opened the bathroom door. And I walked out of that bathroom and went right to my bar. And I took one bottle at a time and started pouring it down the drain and taking it out to the recyclable, one at a time, after another, after another, after another. I must have smoked a bunch of cigarettes after that. And I went to, somehow, I probably started at this ceiling fan and went to bed. I woke up the next day and told my father, hey, listen, you got to take me to a meeting. I got to go. But that day, April 12th, I witnessed and experienced what surrender was. There was no more compliance. There's a big difference between compliance and surrender. And at that moment of surrender, taking a drink or a drug was no longer going to be an option ever. Now, I didn't know how I was going to do it, what it was going to look like. All I knew was just for today that was going to be the thing. And I crawled into the rooms and got around a tremendous amount of fellowship and good guys. And April 13th, 2006 was my first day sober. And next Monday will be 20 years.
That's awesome.
And, you know, all that in between, right, is like one big onion, and you got to keep peeling those layers.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure even now today, I mean, I've heard it numerous times from, you never stop being an addict, right? It's just always present, and you just have to, it's just, I would imagine it's like weight training or just lift. No, I shouldn't say it's like weight training, but what I mean is just resistance in your life, right? The more you push against the resistance, the stronger you get, and it becomes easier to hold back the demon than it does if you're closer to it.
Yes, it hangs on a razor's edge, Kyle. Like, are you going to drive to a meeting or drive to the liquor store? Are you going to call somebody who's been through it and that could, you know, maybe help you out that day? Or are you going to call your dealer? Like, it really does. And when you surrender to the process, it works.
That's cool.
And if I did it, anybody can do it. It's such a beautiful life.
Yeah.
You know, it is such a beautiful life. It's not perfect. It never will be. Mistakes have been made, plenty of them, but the option to take a drink or a drug is not on the table. And I'd be long gone if that was the option that I took.
So you lost your career. You go through rehabilitation.
Yes.
Betty for you. April 13th, first day sober.
Yes.
So you take a separation with you and your wife.
Yes. 8.5 months.
Okay.
Yep.
8.5.
8.5
That had to be tough.
It was the best thing that was ever recommended to us.
Wow.
Because my mouth, that has gotten me in trouble a lot. And all that stuff, all the pain and stuff that starts, like, you really find out you're an alcoholic when you stop drinking.
Yeah. Because you're dealing with, I mean, it's not just mental,
chemical.
It's physiologically, you're going through withdrawals.
And you're so vulnerable. You know, you feel like, I felt like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I am, like, there's, you feel like you're on an island, right? I felt like I was on an island. But this allowed space. So when I had a bad day, and I had plenty of them, I could come home to an empty home and I could yell at the walls and no one would hear me. It was a real big benefit for me, because if she would have been there, she would have heard it.
Or
and sometimes
taking it out on her.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't take things, something, words, right, stick. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And that's things that I had to make amends for. I still will do a daily inventory even to this day. And when I'm wrong, I have to promptly admit it. Right.
Yeah.
Clean house, right? Like that. And, so
you're still human.
Yeah. That was that 8.5 months was so important. And it's interesting, Taylor, I had, in month 5, I had a breakthrough. I quit smoking and I hired a personal trainer, and I started going to bed at 10 o'clock at night, because the nights were tough for me. So I would go to a couple of meetings, and I go to a 7 o'clock meeting and then come home and go to bed and start getting up at 6 in the morning. And I had this trainer. My last cigarette was on a Sunday. I started with him on a Monday, 5 months into recovery. And he put me on this, like, I was, once again, say yes, just say yes. And I'm drinking cod liver oil now, and I'm doing this exercising with him, and little by little, 3 times a week. And then I'm walking, and I lost weight, quitting smoking, lost 25 pounds. I got in great shape. I'm eating properly, gut health, like everything. I can't wait to see him, to thank him. I do my very best to call everybody on my sobriety date to say thank you for being there, because I have to be grateful and thankful and remember those people that were a part of that journey and just say thank you so much. I do that with several people. because it's not about me, it's about others. And then it's about serving others,
Right.
through it. Alcoholism is a selfish disease. And, if you could get into the giving back, right, what we've been given, and get out of your own head and help somebody else, to me, that's if someone asks me what's the one thing, that to me, it's helping someone else. It's
I actually think that's applies to all, like, I have not dealt with addiction in that form or fashion or anything. But I think that a lot of times when you struggle in life, if you find yourself in a dark spot and you go find a way to serve someone else,
yes,
that it completely wipes out that spiral, because serving someone and seeing what they're going through, a lot of times they have it worse than you do. And you're like, oh
yes,
man, I'm over here worrying about this. It
yes,
gives you perspective. It makes you feel good. And it just
does.
opens up a whole new version of yourself that allows you to help overcome that stuff.
It does. You get out of your own druthers,
Yeah.
and then you put your head on your pillow and you're sober. Oh, like I didn't think about
Any of that. Yeah. That's awesome.
And that is really served me in recovery at that precipice, right? Michelle and I, we moved back in together, right?
So 2007, y'all are back.
Yeah, we're all back, and I got invited to the Betty Ford alumni party, and I had resentments to treatment, which were really from myself, right? But so my sponsor said, I think you should go. I was doing my step work. So I said yes. And I got connected with the alumni and a whole other network, and became a volunteer in Scottsdale for 10 years for the Betty Ford alumni.
I was about to say
That's
that
awesome.
probably helped with your long-term recovery, where you're now giving back and you have people that are dependent on you, right? That you're mentoring and you're helping
Yes.
get sober.
Yes.
And you're helping them through your journey. That's also probably holding you accountable as well, because you have these people that are dependent on you.
There is a feeling that, yes, as hard as the day is, you want to be able to show up for others.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go. And then, these things come in. It's like, I don't want to disappoint others, but I don't want to, I've disappointed myself so much that I'm done with that. I want to live the best life that I possibly can, one day at a time, to the best of my ability. Right. And having that mindset, is very, very important. But, through all of that and building that foundation over 3 years, I started a business.
Okay.
And I was so excited. I always loved clothing. I started a custom clothing business in Scottsdale. I named it after my great-grandfather, Italian, Saverio. And I worked with people from where he came from, the Naples region. I got written up in the Robb Report. People who knew me from banking, everything was like set. The table was set. I got some investment from family. I built out a beautiful spot. I really put so much effort and so much thought. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is a new lease on life. And then the market went crash.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. It was a little later than that, but I opened my doors when it all hit that October.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody lost half their net worth overnight, because out there, right, it's not really on portfolio. It's all on real estate. Yeah. And people were committing suicide. It became like not like to spend money. Like even people that had money, it was like, I don't want to be seen with an expensive bag. I had all this beautiful stuff like boxes, and people were giving them back to me. I spent all this money on marketing, like with garment bags and boxes, and people were giving them back to me. Like, this is too nice. I'm like, and I hung in and I hung in and I hung in, and I just couldn't get anything to work, and I lost it all in sobriety. 2 houses, cars. I had a Tahoe. I drove it back to the dealership was a voluntary repossession. And I went up to the guy and I called the bank and I said, here's, and the guy said, hey, you're the sixth one today, bud. Gas was like $4.73 a gallon, right? And I was like, wow. So we had to rent a house and kept that. And we told the guy that, hey, this is what's going on in our life. He goes, hey, you look like nice people. I'll give you a shot. And somehow, I sold a watch that my wife gave me that paid 3 months rent. Chicken was $1.69 a pound. We buy 10 pounds and make chicken 100 different ways. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, right now, this is in recovery.
Yeah.
So, but I had built a good foundation, and drinking and drugging was not an option.
Right.
And thank God, because
that could have driven you.
Well, that would have, if I was in the condition I was previous, yeah, I don't know what I know what I would have done. Yeah. And that, with that stuff stacking. And so the business closes, we're in a house, I'm lost again, somewhat, right? Real sad time. And then we had to leave Scottsdale and we went to the west side of town in Glendale. And I was mortified. Here's another ego, right? The ego, I didn't want to go to Glendale. That's where the avenues were, I had to leave Scottsdale. I worked so hard to get out of the blue collar town right? But all these stories, right?
Yeah.
Well, what God had other plans, because when we moved to Glendale, we got invited to church. And it was around that time where I felt the tug that I wanted a relationship with Christ, but not a religion.
Yeah.
And we got invited to church, and it was like this incredible experience. It was a non-denominational church. Mm-hmm. They had grills and TVs because they want the men to come to church. I mean, a Starbucks, and everybody was having fun, like the kids at bounce houses. And I'm going to myself, how I grew up, it was like, the shame, the guilt, the everything. It's like, you don't come to church to have fun, go to confession, bit in the booth, you got all of this going. And this was like a whole, it was like, God was like, hey, this is what Jesus is about, and great message, great music.
Yeah.
And these Bible verses are popping up. And one thing I liked about it was they served communion. So it gave me a little bit of home, right? Yeah, every week. Well, these Bible verses start popping up. Every week, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Philippians 4:13. Next week, same thing. Going to Michelle. Now, Saturday was our date night. We were broke. But they had these taco salads for $5. So we go to church, and that was our date night. Like, we'd have taco salads for $5. And I'm saying to myself, why is this tugging at my heart? This Bible verse. Why is it 4:13? 4:13. That's my sobriety date. April 13th.
Yeah.
So there's a Bible called the Life Recovery Bible, and it kind of melds the 12 steps in with the Bible. 40 theologians did it with Dr. David Stoop and Stephen Arterburn, who I got to meet and share this story with. Because then I got asked, my wife and I, so we got plugged in, we got baptized together, we joined a neighborhood group, then we hosted it for 3 years, and then the call came, can you help someone out? They got to know my story. And that led to 5 years of crisis work on the streets,
That's awesome.
Taking kids to treatment. We took them in our own home. I learned a lot. So when the opioid crisis hit, I learned a lot going on. Like, when the sun went down, I went out. I picked kids up, take them to In-N-Out Burger, learn what's going on. They're all living under the bridge behind all the food stores. And that's when, like, middle class, upper middle class white kids were willing to go homeless. Yeah. It was an interesting time, like, seeing all this play out. And God took me on one wild ride for 5 years. Unbelievable. So, what I thought was devastation became a gift once again, because the first time I went to go help that young man, I was in the car and there was a song by 10th Avenue North called I'm Worn. And I'm in the car and I'm crying. This is playing because I couldn't get anything to work. You know, the detox, you want to go? He goes, no. I got in the car, went to the hotel, and what God did there changed everything. I knocked on the door, kid let me in. I kind of was like, hey, you know, did the old thing. You know, I had a detox bed waiting for him because, you know, you can't go cold turkey on alcohol like that.
Yeah.
He said, no. I said, okay. I got in the car. And before I got in the car, I heard that voice again, right? Just like, you know, God saying, this must all end. On April 12th, 2006. Well, June 6th, 2011, which is D-Day. June 6th is D-Day, which is a significant story because I was a very important guy in AA that I got to know that helped me out, was on Normandy Beach. There's no coincidences, only divine appointments. I went to get in the car to leave, and I heard, I told you not to leave without him. So I was like, okay, I'll do it your way. I pulled up prayers for the alcoholic on my phone, and I went in, and I started at the top. And the kid would laugh at me. He would cry. He would ask me to pray. He went to the phone, booked 2 more nights in a hotel, took a handle of vodka, looked right at me and chugged it. It's like I was looking at myself, you know? And I got a message from the pastor, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, I think you better come down and give me a hand. And all I remember was I had my hand on him and I was praying, and he turned around and looked at me and his eyes were black. And he said, leave. And I know because I asked for prayer outside those walls and I was praying. It was not my response. What God shot out of my mouth was not a chance. God's opening that door and we're walking out of here. And the doorbell rang. And it was the 2 pastors. And I let him in. And the kid said yes to help. And I said, get him out. Take him to detox. I cleaned up the room and I brought him in the detox. And that night I sat on the couch and I thought, what went on here? Like what? This was way over my head. Like this wasn't like a 12-step call. It was like, and a picture came over that someone took a picture of me from the back, bringing him in. That started, 5 years of crisis work, dealing with everything. And sometimes I knew what I was doing. Sometimes I didn't. I just led with my heart and what I could do. And there's some wonderful, they're all wonderful. Everybody's wonderful. But there's some kids out there today that are sober because of what God did and how he used me, as a vessel. I mean, it's not me. I can't take credit for that. It's God using me as a vessel and being able to be available at that time in my life. And I'll never forget those many, many moments, with people. We've lost a bunch and a bunch have, done wonderful, but nobody, I'll remember each and every one of them and their families that were a part of my life. And at the end of 5 years, I was tired. And that's started kind of the journey to Texas.
Okay. That's where I was going next. How do you leave? So you leave Arizona, come out here.
Yeah, I went on so after all of that, I went on a mission trip to rural Pennsylvania and saw a whole different side of the opioid epidemic. I saw another side of believers and being an outsider. the unchurched people were nicer to me than the churched people in that time. I showed up, someone gave me shelter at like one of those dirty dancing type of like things, like in the mountain, there was a couple who owned it. They're like, we need you here. Nobody's here in the winter. You got a room. I go to a restaurant. I'll never forget. It was called the Pennsyltucky Grill. Grace was her name. She goes, we need you here. You come here for lunch and for dinner. Just tip the waitress. You're good. I had shelter and food, and I went on a journey to take a nonprofit over. I thought, and it just didn't work out, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Right? I put myself out there. I learned a lot. I came home, got a couple visitors. My buddy Randy Boyd, my dear friend Randy, what an incredible warrior he is. He wanted to ride his bicycle from from California to Pennsylvania for his nonprofit. And I said, I'll put it together and I'll drive the truck. So he called me, he goes, I put it together. So I left Pennsylvania, I flew home, I said hi to Michelle, I flew to Palm Springs, and we got in the truck, and for 40 days and 40 nights, it worked out that way. Randy and I went across the country together. And what God did with us two ragamuffins, I'll never forget. And the guidance once again from that trip, I mean, people praying for us.
Yeah.
You don't know. They're putting hands, like you meet everybody, to people going up to Randy, because Randy rode for the sexual abuse of boys and men. He's a survivor. He was abused from the ages of 11 to 17 from his stepfather. He has written books. He gives back. I mean, he's a coach. He helps so many people. And people coming up to him like, did you do it to anybody yourself? Like, and I was like mortified. Like, I was ready to like, who are you to talk to him that way? But the way he handled it, like, thank you for asking, he said. It's like, wow. Like, I learned, again, about that demeanor, like my grandfather, I learned a lot of lessons from that. And it was so nice, Taylor, I've always been the driver of something. Yeah. This time I got to be the driver behind the dash and root for my buddy. It's just him and I. He'd be driving his bike up, like we were in Arizona. I'll never forget it. He's coming up Route 17 and it's just him and I, right? And I'm on the top of his truck, his F-150 with a banner, go Randy, go. And I'm on the truck, and I'm yelling, from like, I would park like 20 miles out, on the side of the road and just cheering him on and seeing his courage and what he was going through. Was just a humbling 40 days and 40 nights. I'll never forget it. And it redirected me back to my wife in a way, because during that trip, I got guidance to say yes to your wife. Go home to your wife and say yes to whatever she wants, which led to me going home and her saying, you want to go hiking and camping? And I'm like, Jersey guys don't go camping, because usually when you go to a place like that, it's your last ride. So I'm like, no. But I'm like, yes. And she got me up on the mountains of Scottsdale training. Then she's like, let's do the Catalina Island Trail, which if you could do that with your wife and still be like, first day, she's like, I want to go the old way. Yes, I had to say yes. 16 miles in, I'm coming apart at the seams. I'm crying, made 2 confessions. I'm like, can we get to the I got charged by a buffalo the next day. I mean, wild stuff, and we got through it. I mean,
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Wild, and that's how. So we weren't, ready to go back to church, and just some things that we want, how do we stay connected? How do we reconnect our marriage and stay connected with God?
Sounds and like so, it gave you a great reset.
Oh my gosh, hiking. And that's how the pizza thing kind of, once again, like we would do, we've done all this teamwork, all these team building things together.
Right.
Hike. The only way she'd get me up the hill is tell me what was going to go on the pizza. And then we come home. Right, it's funny. I'm like,
hey, that woman knows your heart.
She does. She does. She does.
Let's just say,
it's like, oh my gosh, this
she
guy,
knows how to motivate you.
How do I redirect him to stop complaining?
She's like, we're gonna do this type of
Yes.
crust. We're gonna.
What's the toppings? So I'm like, and so we go home and we have the dough. We made homemade pizzas, and so December. So after all these trips, all this intensity, everything in my life is either like quiet or like boom, and which I like it like that.
The same way.
So I think that what ended up happening was I was like, okay, I got to get a job. Like, what am I going to do? Like after all these like things, it's like I couldn't get a job. So that was the last part of 2017. I kind of shut it down. I said, I'm going to enjoy Christmas. And January comes and there's a message on Facebook for adolescent teen treatment in Fort Worth, Texas. And they needed like a marketing guy. And I thought, wow, this checks a lot of boxes for me. But I'm not going anywhere without my wife. Like for the first time in my life, I approached it different. I said, here is something. What do you think? Usually I would have been like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And to be yoked with my wife and to learn what that has meant is the reason why Texas has been the second best decision we've ever made. The first being getting married. She's like, you know what? I think we've tapped out of Arizona. Like, I want to do something different. Let's go on an empty nest adventure because,
she already made you climb all the mountains out there.
All the mountains out there.
We need to come get new trails.
Yeah, new trails, which are very hard to find out here.
Yeah.
Everything's flat. It's like, oh, goodness, but so she said, yes, go for it. So I flew out here twice and came home with a job. We packed up the U-Haul around April 13th. We pushed off. It was like God said, we're going to close this chapter, go on the next adventure, go. But it was, I know it was because I, asked my wife, like, what do you think? And so we got out here. She stayed home. We ended up living at the place for a little bit. We found an apartment in Flower Mound. We got a 1-bedroom. We downsized. We got a 1-bedroom apartment. We lived there for 2 years. Got to know the area. She finished her bachelor's while in that time. I got a promotion there. And then we built a house in Pecan Square. And we ended up there because I was like, you could buy a house for under $300,000. Because it was right.
Yeah.
Wait, it was
that was right before the boom. 2019
before COVID hit.
Yeah.
So I, did that, and that's where the inspiration for the How You Doing Foundation Clubhouse came from. Going across the country and all over for adolescent treatment, mental health, addiction, substance misuse, right? Seeing the gaps in the system, seeing what parents were going through, seeing what the kids were going through, that there was no really anchor in the community. And if it was clinical. Everything was clinical or therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, how about a clubhouse? So I started seeing different snippets of it throughout the country. And some of the names for them, I was like, oh, that's kind of like the stigma to that. Like I thought, a clubhouse sounds really good. And how about having some fun, So I was a chief marketing officer for a treatment center in Waxahachie. I got laid off. The place closed. And I'm 53 years old. And once again, what are you going to do? All right, I'm going to walk. It's like a Forrest Gump moment. I just go walk, pray, ask God for the guidance because he's always given it to me. Well, it's time. Open the clubhouse. Okay. What are you going to name it? How you doing? I was like, because this how you doing thread is also with pizza has been in my life with the people I've met and just in my own vocabulary and, from being a kid to, no matter where I live, because everybody gets a kick out of the Jersey accent, in Arizona or Texas. Like you're kind of like it's you're a character, which is fun. So after all the walking, I collected unemployment for the first time in my life. 6 months you get here in Texas. It wasn't even, it was interesting because it was my mortgage payment. That's what I got. And my wife since has gotten her master's out here. She's gotten a great job. I mean, so I was able to pay the mortgage and then she was able to fill in the rest. I worked for 6 months. Or I collected for 6 months. I was like 53, my goodness, like what am I going to do? So what I just said. And then someone wrote a check and someone referred a lawyer. And before you knew it, all the paperwork was done and it was paid for. And I was like, okay, this is great. And I went to the pizza festival in Las Vegas, the it's a pizza expo, international pizza expo. And I'm like, this is the first conference I've been to that wasn't about addiction in a long time. And I was so happy. I was like, pizza, this is great. Met all these people. And I'm like,
that's a great convention to go to.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I just got back from my 4th one and it's incredible how that's evolved because I Shark Tanked the clubhouse there. I started pitching like, this is what I'm going to do for teens. And I want to put a pizza kitchen in there. And so, it started taking shape.
Yeah.
And
so good segue. So I want to ask you, so let's Shark Tank it. Like what is how you do? And
thank you.
And we'll continue to talk about it, but you're here now. We know how you got to it.
Yes.
What is it?
So the How You Doing Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit for teenagers ages 13 to 17 for their families as well, and for our community and communities that are facing challenges with connection, mental health, and substance misuse. So how are we going to do that? Through our 4 core elements of fun, connection, discovery, and direction. And where we're going to do it? In a 10,000 square foot clubhouse coming to North Lake, Texas this September.
Yeah.
And, so that is, a couple of years of refining and changing and mistakes and asking too soon, not asking enough, right? All of this wonderful adventure. Then what came into my life 6 months as unemployment ran out, I got a contract to help adult men and women get into medical assisted drug and alcohol detox. And I've been doing that ever since. And that allows me to tithe into the nonprofit. My wife and I are also the largest donors into it. So I never will ask anybody to do anything that I haven't done myself or won't do myself. And that includes the teenagers,
Right.
And kids want that authenticity. They're craving it now, right? So
it's, and that, man, in the world that we live in right now, authenticity, like we talk about it, like we've talked about the podcast we wanted to be, and that was our biggest thing. We just want to be authentic. We don't know exactly all the guests and the people. It's definitely, we want to talk about business and how, but at its core, it's like, how do you take someone out in this world that we live in that feeds off of artificial intelligence and artificial fame and everything that's out there, and show them
social media is so fake and so vast. You don't know what's true and what's authentic.
Discernment is a very important word these days.
Yeah. And that this kind of leads perfectly into kind of the story of how I got involved with How You Doing and how I met you. Because I immediately knew you were authentic. So a year ago this week, I had to have a life-saving surgery. And heart surgery, almost died, all this stuff. And
it's not that big of a
deal. But
I would be your podcast buddy.
But during that time, we had some great friends of ours that were helping out, making meals and stuff. And one of our friends, she made a meal train.
Yes.
For us. And my wife, we had just had a baby. So we have a newborn at home
Right.
that was a preemie. My wife had some complications after surgery, bled out. We had to go back into the hospital for a week. She had to have 4 blood transfusions. It was this crazy time in our life. And then I, have this heart surgery. Well, she made this meal train, and I have never asked for help or money from anyone ever in my life. And I thought what it was that people were going to make meals for my wife, because I couldn't lift my arms past here. I was kind of bound to this recliner that we had got. I was sleeping in it. And I couldn't really do anything, especially couldn't help with a baby.
Right.
Well, come to find out that meal train, people just decided to donate money to it. And I felt this guilt of like, there's people out there that could use this money. I'm blessed. I have my businesses running, and I was talking with some buddies that I played poker with weekly, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't feel right accepting this at all. Like, if people want to bring my wife food that she's cooked, so it takes the burden off her, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And they were like, why don't you donate it to some military foundation or something? And I'm very cautious of where I donate money and where I tithe, right? Because I want to know who it's going to and how it's being used.
Yes.
Well, we're a part of this networking organization, and I meet you, and then we're talking, and then literally 2 days before, I had these conversations with my buddies about donating the money, and you're getting up sharing your story, and you said, hey, we are this far away from $100,000.
Yes.
And if I hit this mark,
yes,
someone has pledged another 20,000.
Yes.
And before you could finish, I stood up and I was like, God had taught, like, it's like something spoke to me. This is where you need to do it.
Oh.
So I gave that money from the mill train, which was exactly how much you needed to get to that 100,000. And then it was like a domino effect. Someone else stood up. They donated money. They donated. And you ended up leaving that meeting with almost $30,000.
Yes. It was the one of the greatest 5 minutes. And, once again, there are no coincidences, only divine appointments. What was going on in your life, and how you got there, and the message to do that, it's only God. And to walk in to that meeting, how I got involved with the Argyle Business Association, right? I'll never forget that day. And I have to give a shout out to Matt Kipp, because
I love Matt.
Matt stepped up and said, how are we going to get Eddie to this?
Yeah,
and it was like,
That's
boom,
right.
boom, boom. And, you think, right, I thought about after getting laid off and walking and praying and going, hearing the guidance, do it. And then that happens, and you're like, thank you, God. Like, it's a message that you're resonating. Your message is clear. People believe in you. Mm-hmm. It's needed, right?
And I'm sure it gave you so much encouragement to keep going.
It was such a gift, and I say just thank you for stepping up like that. Thank you for everybody. I had invited somebody to come to that meeting, and it was the first time she was at that meeting, and she was crying.
What a great meeting.
I mean, what a meeting. And that everybody in our group has been so generous in a lot of ways, because, it's whether it's financial, encouragement, enthusiasm, their time, sharing about us,
Yeah, and gosh, so all those people that donated to my meal train, know that went to the How You Doing Foundation. That didn't go to my pocketbook or my wife's bank account. Like, I literally took that money and it went straight to you guys. And it's just cool that I could be a part of that. And then when we started this podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to have Eddie on just so we could share that story.
So grateful for that. And it's such an honor and a privilege to be on this podcast, because everybody you have had on, you talk about authenticity, right?
That's right.
You talk about the stories of redemption, of.
It's funny. I don't know that we ever intended that to be this way.
Yeah,
it just so happens that everybody you have on has had these great stories.
Epic. I've listened to every one of them.
And just the experience, and it's super inspirational for people. We talked about at the beginning, just like I heard you, we were before the podcast started, we were talking about authenticity. Brought up Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Just, and it's no coincidence, very brash personality, right? But it's no coincidence when you see or you're attracted to people that legitimately have life experience and have gone through something. I truly don't believe it's a coincidence that you went through what you went through. No. And on the other side of that, because there are people in this world that I guarantee that wouldn't help, or you wouldn't be able to help unless you'd gone through what you've gone through.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Kyle, the gift, like for recovery, is taking resentment and turning it into gratitude.
Yeah.
And someone even asked me, it was a 17-year-old, well, I was working in the treatment setting, said, how do you do it? And I said, how do you do what? He goes, how are you so happy all the time? And I says, well, this is a very important conversation for what's going on today in the journey, right? I says, well, you want the fluffy answer or do you want it straight from the heart? Right? 17. He goes, I don't want no fluff.
Yeah.
Tell me. I says, I'm not happy. He goes, really? I said, I'm grateful. I said, if I had depended on happiness, I'd have drank and used a long time ago. Happiness is a fleeting emotion.
That's great. Yeah.
Gratitude, because I could be knocking it out of the park or having the worst stretch of time, the worst day. But if I'm grateful, I will put my head on the pillow sober and be of maximum service to my fellow man.
Yeah, that I can resonate with that so much because I'm so grateful to be here.
Yes.
And be alive, right? So that, man, I love that. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna keep that. That's a clip right there. Just it's grateful.
It really is. And so the drunk Eddie, stuck in his own self and his own self-pity. Oh, you didn't make it. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Right? As opposed to the recovered one, I'm grateful for the whole journey, all of it, no matter what. There's some pretty tough stuff in there, but you either, Randy taught me a lot about, you can stay the victim, right? Or thrive. It's a really fine line, to having that victim mentality and staying in it, or having that thriving, mentality where, you're flourishing and you're grateful and you're giving back. It's not easy. You got to put in the work, but it's possible.
So the clubhouse,
yes,
opening in September.
We're taking occupancy. So I'm going to tell you now, we approved the plans this week.
Yeah.
And
you showed them to us earlier.
I signed the lease last night.
Oh, that's awesome. My gosh, that's awesome.
So we signed a 4-year lease, and
so
we take occupancy September the 1st.
That area right there is about to be
it's
Trooper. What Trooper is doing with Hilltop.
Yes.
Also great family.
Yes,
we
they
plan
are.
on having.
I get my U-Hauls there for my mobile pizza missions.
Yeah. Trooper. We're planning on having Trooper on.
That's awesome.
Great, just a great guy. And I see your building.
Yes.
And I because my house is right there in Harvest.
You're right there.
Yeah. So I see it all the time. And I'm like, I can't wait to see your side. I can't wait to see that. I'm just so excited that, so I know there has to be some type of staff that you're going to carry right there. How can people, and let all the viewers know, how can people be a part of this? How can they support you, and where can they find you?
Yes. Thank you so much. So I always say, just like the hat, right? Just like the shirt,
all over
.org.
Okay.
It's spelt just like that. How with the U doing.org.
Okay.
And then they could email me on that if they want to volunteer, if they'd like to learn more about, what does it look like for donations of any kind. you know, that would be, you know, incredible to do that. We're on Instagram, How You Doing Foundation, at the How You Doing Foundation. Facebook, the same thing. I'm on all the social media platforms. LinkedIn as well. Use that a lot. We're even have a foundation page on LinkedIn. So you can find us that. And yeah, it's going to be a wonderful time because we are really closing in on 200,000 in funds raised now.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
And
When we
without-
just a year ago, we
Yes.
were pushing you to the point to get to 100, to get to
Yes.
120, and now you're
and those
closer to-
numbers matter because
Yeah.
people, right? Also,
Dude, I want to see the progress.
listen,
Yeah.
like what you said, I want my money. I want to invest in something, right? That's going to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Right. So it is important to hit those marks and to share those marks, but it's because of it's teen mental health.
Yeah.
Right. One statistic I bring up, which really pushed me for a why, the second leading cause of death of 10 to 24-year-olds is suicide. That was not on the table when I was in high school.
Right.
There were cries for help. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
was one of them, but that wasn't on the table. And we've have some high schools, local high schools, that have submitted 240 attempts in 2 years, and that's what's being documented.
I lost my sister to it. She was 18.
18.
Yeah. So I believe in what you're doing, and I'm so happy to be a part of it and support it. So that's
Well, it's knowing that, Taylor. I mean, it's an honor and a privilege to know you, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's and it's we got to be available. We have to step up for this generation.
Yep.
We don't have to fix people. We don't have to fix kids. We got to be available and be consistent and have fun.
That's right.
And show like what is good in this world.
Mhm.
Like I said about the Pizza Expo, right? All these people in this convention center, all the jobs, all the fun, all the passion, all the work, the blood, the sweat, the tears, all these different things, right? There's so many wonderful things in this world to live for.
That's right.
So
You know.
how killer of a pizza kitchen do you have?
Oh.
No, and what?
Oh, that's so pizza is so when you walk through the door, the whole left side of the clubhouse is dedicated to pizza.
I can't wait to come over and make some pizzas with you
35
guys.
feet and then a 12-foot accent wall. We're going to put like the How You Doing Pizzeria and then sponsorship logos we'll have on
That's
there.
awesome.
A deck of like we're going to do legit pizza out of there.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's-
and maybe even some sourdough, some bread baking because
Yeah.
we'll be able to raise money through that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
we also want to teach the kids you can't sit back and wait for a donation,
Entrepreneurship,
right?
right?
And that's kind of the
Like
mobile.
you were doing with cards early on.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the message with the mobile pizza mission because once again, the ABA,
Yeah.
Chris Kanabe,
Yeah.
gets us a grant.
That's so cool.
The grant gets matched and exceeded. Now we're able to buy 4 mobile pizza ovens and a big tent. And now we can go into the communities. And now
Yeah.
businesses are going, could we do this for a client appreciation? And
That's
I have a set amount for a donation. And we've raised over $5,000 doing that.
That's awesome.
So now we've got for the summer we did it in Harvest. We did 54 pizzas in Harvest. And then I have 2 in our community. A team pool party. We'll be out there slinging pizzas, letting parents know and the kids know what's coming.
That's cool.
And then the engagement, right? So that mobile pizza mission is huge.
That's
but once
awesome.
again, it's the power of the community and everybody stepping up.
You know, and even for the listeners that are listening to this, and we know times are tough in the economy, and you might not be able to donate funds because you're living paycheck to paycheck. But if you're watching this and you want to help in any way, the best thing that you could do is take this episode and share it and
Yes.
tag his social medias in it and tag the How You Do It. It literally costs you nothing to do that.
Correct.
But you could reach your network, that someone in your network could see that video and they could donate and they can help in a monetary way or with their time.
Yes,
And that doesn't cost anyone anything.
it doesn't. And it means so much because, when people will say, well, who do you know? You just don't know.
Yeah,
What is it? The
just share
5
it.
degrees to Kevin Bacon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully it'll be the 5 degrees to Joey Tribbiani. 'Cause he'll come and say, how you doing with Uncle Eddie in the clubhouse, right?
Well, hopefully we get Dave Portnoy to watch
was
this
gonna say,
episode, and I mean
we
that
could
guy
find
right
Dave
there.
Portnoy might
You
help
got
with
a one connection to him.
Yes, yes.
So
It would be fun for him to come, especially for the kids,
yes,
right? To
That'd be
come
super
and rate the pizzas. Because one thing we've learned a lot is interviewing the kids, because I want the kids to take ownership of their club.
yeah,
It's for them. And when kids take ownership with their peers, right, then they protect it.
for sure.
They want it to flourish. They want
Yep.
it to get better. And so we've learned
They're
so
a
much.
part of something.
They really are.
Yeah.
And so the right side of the clubhouse is going to be a state-of-the-art podcast center.
Nice.
We're going to have an editing suite for the kids that don't want to get behind the mic, like when they want to be
Yeah.
engineers, right?
Yep.
With a green room. So for the guests that learn a little bit of customer service.
Yeah,
And then a
that's so
flex
cool.
room. So once again, the ABA, David White, Vita Creative, they're
Awesome.
working on all of this for us, design, all the electronics, and we're raising money for that. And so we're going to teach the kids. They're going to launch their own podcast, have their own voice, talk about topics.
Yeah,
We're going to have that as well. And then we'll also allow, like, because it's an after school program, right? So we're going to allow businesses to, if they want to make a donation, they could use the podcast studio. So that'll be
cool.
another form of revenue,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to have a lot of different things. It's because you're a nonprofit, that doesn't mean you don't run it like a business.
For sure.
You
Yeah,
have to
for
have that mindset.
That brings us to another, like we've covered a lot on the podcast today. And,
Yes.
like fantastic story about everything. At the end of our podcast, we like to do a segment called 15 Minutes to Win.
Oh.
So, but what it is, it's now in your case, which I think is fantastic because we haven't had anybody on with a 501c3 yet. And it doesn't necessarily need to be 15 minutes long. It can be as long as you want or as short as you want. But
Sure.
what is a business lesson from a 501c3 perspective? Maybe a big lesson that you've learned? What's something that you can pass on to other people out there that are watching this that maybe have the same aspirations of you? Like, hey, how do they do this? How do they get started? What is your experience? What would be your best advice for anyone trying to start a 501c3 and go down this path?
You have to go for it. You have to jump off the edge, right? If you have something that means so much to you and you're that passionate about it, you also have to have so much love and passion for what you're going to raise money for that you're willing to hear no 150 times and you're willing to ask 151 times.
Yeah.
Right? That's really, I think, the drive, the message, keep improving each day and get some good people around you. So one of the best decisions that I've made was, there is a woman, her name's Valerie Gocher, and she is on my advisory board, and she's a paid advisory member. She is my personal coach. She built a nonprofit from her kitchen table to $1 million a year budget.
That's awesome.
And so there's a lot of talk. You have to sift, right? What's talk and what's real discernment. I want people around me that have done it. So I don't have to reinvent 100 wheels.
Yeah.
Right? Have good people around you like that could guide you and get you to where you want to go to. Maybe it won't be faster, but it will be more efficient. Mm-hmm. But efficiency leads to quicker. But to have somebody that you could bounce ideas off of, but give you good feedback, that feedback to me is just so important. I also feel like you can never rest on your laurels and get lazy and think that everybody's going to get behind you or that everybody knows about you.
Yeah.
You have to wake up every morning right? No matter what you do in life, I wake up grateful and filled with enthusiasm. That's why I always say it. I'm filled with gratitude and enthusiasm, because in the nonprofit world, right? To me, it's like, if you're not enthusiastic and grateful about what you're doing, who's gonna want to give you any money as well, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I put that the wrong way. Who's gonna invest in you and invest in your idea? And it's okay. What I always say too, if you get a no, ask for the feedback immediately, or, be humble enough to say, is there something that I could have done better? Where is my message not being clear? Take the feedback and use the feedback, right? And use that to your advantage to improve your messaging, to improve what you're doing, constant improvement, and not thinking like you've got everything figured out. And also, like, people say, well, do you know what you're going to do at this point? And I say, no. You know how many kids are going to come? No. The lease, you sign the lease, it's a lot. And what I said was, on the business standpoint, I felt the same way as we're talking about a nonprofit. At this point, with the money that we've raised, it's time to go for it, because people want to see results,
for sure.
and I have to bring results. Right. So I also, like, in that sense of the responsibility to bring results and taking the action to show that that investment is paying off for people, is something I wake up every morning thinking about. Really do. And so, it's a real important piece, to me, about that investment and about showing the results. So, not having everything figured out, Kyle, right? It's like but going for it at this point. Now, one thing I'm really excited about is we're not going to go into full-blown programming right away, but we are going into the fourth quarter, which is the biggest fundraising time for nonprofits. It's probably 80 to 90% of your fundraising is done in the fourth quarter. You got Texas Giving Day, North Texas Giving Day, which is one of the biggest in the country.
Oh, wow.
Right? So now I'm going to be able to take appointments and fundraise out of the clubhouse.
Oh, so it gives it.
That's a game changer, right? Because is Eddie going to, like, even, let's just say, right? You invested in us. Mm-hmm. Now you say, okay, like, well, maybe I do a little more, but I like to see a building. I like to see, like,
some results.
Right. Yeah. So now I'll, have you, the next time I see it, we'll have you walk through the front door. I mean, just the impact of that, right? To show,
I'm sure there's a lot of wealthy, when we're talking about donors, the people that have the money to take something like this and really propel it forward for years.
Yes.
They're not going to just give it to people that don't have proof. And so
no.
everything that you do,
proof of concept, right?
Absolutely.
And it's exciting that you're at that point, you're at that doorway, getting ready to. So congratulations!
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
The other piece with the clubhouse, which is exciting, is there's going to be 5,000 square foot of outdoor space.
Oh, cool.
And one of my board members just let me know he got it all turfed.
Oh, nice.
All the material, all the labor, it's all paid for.
That's awesome.
So we're going to put some fire pits out there, right?
Yeah.
And some fireside chats. Kids could do homework out there, hang out and talk. Maybe a sport court, or some stuff like that. Just
that's awesome.
But just to be able the ability to pour outside, because there's 2 12-foot doors in the front, and then 2 12-foot doors in the back.
Yep.
So what a great hub for kids to come do homework, have a meltdown, figure it out. We're going to do check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
One a week for the boys, one a week for the girls, and then a co-ed mashup. I like calling them check-ins, and we are going to hire a program director and then work with volunteers and mentors, the clubhouse guest. That's going to be I cannot wait. to have you guys come do a podcast with us, share your platform, share your stories, and then come make a pizza with me and talk to the kids and the parents.
I got some ideas I'm going to share with you off air about how we can get some other businesses involved in the how you do and to support it. And I think along with some jujitsu, I have some ideas for you.
Yes.
I want to.
Yes. And then you're going to be in charge of getting Jocko to the.
I like it.
Yes. Because all I want to hear him say once to me is, good.
I love it. I love it. I know.
Didn't get the grant? Good.
That's
one of my favorite,
I need to bring that out there. I actually have a sticker that says good.
Good.
It just sits in my office.
Yes.
It's funny how I got it from, I had a sergeant that I worked for in law enforcement, and he gave us, there's a guy that wrote some books. Anyway, long story short, He wrote this book, and he happened to be somewhere we got a signature, and he ended up picking up this stuff. It's kind of motivation for our squad, and I just laughed because I put that sticker up. I always remember. I was looking at it.
Though, like the simplicity. One of my favorite sayings in some of the programs are, it's a very simple program for difficult people, and it's in the simplicity that in life and in things that's where the joy is, and in the solution, in the simplicity, right? Not to overthink it, and like those anchor words, because when he talked about that, he's like, it's something about when things are not, all copacetic, that you say good, and it changes the chemistry and the wiring. And so those anchor words have been like gratitude, like when things are going like not, it's like, I'm grateful. So those anchor words, very simple, right?
Yeah.
You may say Jesus, just that word alone brings this like.
When I was my mom used to tell me, if you're afraid as a child, just say Jesus' name.
Yes.
And it'll bring peace upon you.
Yes. And protection.
And protection. Yeah.
Yes.
And there was some times in my childhood that I needed some protection, and
yes.
Yeah.
It's a really, so with teenagers, right? So here's an exciting thing. You talk about one word, right? One of the best things in life is, I feel, is having somebody maybe 10, 20, 25 years older than you as a friend, and maybe 10, 20, 25 years younger. You learn so much from bookending your friends, because what the 70-year-old knows is priceless for a guy who's 57. And what the 25 or 27 or 30-year-old knows is priceless for a guy who's 57. And there is somebody in their 70s that has come into my life because of the ABA. He's an author. He's been an entrepreneur. He accepted a board position with us, and he is going to publish a book for teens. And it's going into we're using this as our curriculum. And it's a 52-week curriculum because it's one word a week.
That's cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
And kids need, right? It's the simplicity, because there's no frontal cortex going on, right? You can't expect things out of kids that, right? You have to be there at that level, right? You can't have these expectations that kids are going to be able to absorb all of this stuff and psychobabble and all that, whatever, right? You got to keep it simple. And how I grew up in that Polish, Irish, blue collar town, very simple, kind of Norman Rockwell town, So Mark Avery is writing a book, and he's going to publish it, and whatever we sell it for, he's going to donate it all to the foundation.
Oh, wow. That's super cool.
And him and I are in a process right now. He sends me a word or two a week with the writings to it. We send it out for feedback. And so that's going to be our curriculum. And we're going to have that like as a podcast, right? The word of the week, or like a short.
Yeah.
There's so much nice things, like making a pizza. I have another great person who's been such a part of this, that makes pizza peels. the wooden cherry wood pizza peels. He makes them in Appleton, Wisconsin. And so we're going to get pizza peels with the word of the week and, just have so much fun. And it'll be so much fun to see the kids that stick around to see how these words evolve, because how much change happens between 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
So maybe this word is way over their head, or maybe they can but how exciting when it comes around the next year, when, for
from
the
a
kid
13-year-old to a 17-year-old,
right,
the word could be completely different.
And
That's
have
awesome.
him voice all of that over the years to his peers. And there's nothing more powerful than the peers, right?
It's a cool project.
Yeah. So I'm so excited about that, bringing simplicity in the word, how that all kind of segued into from
awesome.
good to,
Well, I'm sure in a year we're probably going to have to do a follow-up on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait. This will be one that I'm very excited about, doing a follow-up with you and seeing where you're at. And, maybe we come out and shoot at y'all's studio.
We would love that. We would love that.
And that would be, something fun for us to do.
Well, our casa is your casa, without a doubt. Which
I love it.
Is a good segue for your next podcast. But I appreciate you both, because I know you have both been through, your battles and step up for a lot of people and bring a joy and enthusiasm to the rooms that we're in. And that means a lot, because, some days you just don't have it, and you walk in and feel that energy and joy and authenticity from guys like you. And it really matters. It really does. Everything matters. Everything matters. That's my favorite hashtag. Everything matters. It does.
I think we can end it right there.
All right.
Everything matters.
Everything matters.
A quick, honest request. This podcast doesn't have sponsors. There's nothing we're selling. No ad you skipped. We pay for everything ourselves. If this was worth your time, the smallest thing you can do is hit subscribe. Takes 1 second, costs nothing. That's the whole ask. Thank you. See you on the next episode.